Welcome to my first YouTube video. My name is Logan, or as you may know me, Log Fitz, and really this is long overdue. It's something that I should have started a long time ago, but now is the time, and so we're gonna go ahead and get started. In this first video, I just really want to do nothing but kind of let you guys know what this channel is about, who I am. I know many of you watching this right now have probably followed me on Twitter or maybe Instagram for some time. And I think this is a really good medium to express a lot of the ideas that I've had or maybe that you've enjoyed from me over the past few years, and just give you like a little deeper look into all of the stuff that I kind of believe or care about that hopefully you also find interesting. So I want to start this video off by just kind of giving you a background and giving you some context as to, more so on a deeper lens, who I am, what I do, what that looks like, how I got here, sort of deal. So, there's a lot I could go into, right? But I think the best place to start is just kind of give you some context on how I grew up, what that looks like. I'm from a small town in Ohio. And, I don't want to go super in depth with my childhood. I had a relatively normal one, nothing that really noteworthy. It wasn't all sunshine and roses, but I also, had my parents and my family gave me everything I needed to survive and do that well. Gave me a really good upbringing in that sense. It was also a really good place to grow up. If you're watching this and you followed me, you probably have some affection for the meme kit that I wield. And I think a lot of it stems from that. In the Midwest, people just get bored. And so there's nothing to do but fuck off. So yeah, I grew up relatively normal childhood in Ohio, Mansfield, Ohio. And parents were divorced. Like I said, it wasn't all sunshine and roses sort of deal. But I also didn't have a bad childhood. I just had a good, normal, middle class, Midwestern childhood. I think the important things to note within that story, obviously I could go into so much detail, but the big takeaways that I think influenced my life, or maybe the more impactful moments, were a few different things. Number one, I had a affinity for sports my entire life. I was always a good athlete. Sorry, the mic keeps. There we go. I had an affinity for sports and was a good athlete, but I wasn't a great athlete. When you're from north central Ohio, you want to be the next LeBron, right? And that's one undertone that I think really shaped the development of my life and the outlook and where it is now, is that yearning to just be a really great athlete. I was a good athlete, but not a great athlete, but it kind of molded me into a very hard worker. And it started that, I was 12 reading bodybuilding.com, researching stuff, buying some whatever bullshit fake product that I saw on the internet that, maybe would help me do this or that, or jump higher, run faster, whatever the thing might be, right? God, this is pissing me off. There we go. That should be good now. So that's the first undertone that I think really influenced things. The second one was when I was, 14 or 15, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, which is, or so they tell you, an autoimmune illness affecting your thyroid. It's hyperthyroidism. And really that to me was, I think, a big transition point. I didn't realize it at the time, but, I would go in and it definitely, the Western medical system definitely acutely helped me. But I would go in and they would basically drop hey, you've been on the medicine, your blood levels look good, let's kick it down a notch. And then I'd get tested again the next time 2 months later, and it'd be oh, well, your levels are back up. And they just never really had a strong answer for me as to why this was happening, what I could do to really fix it. It was just oh, it's genetics, you have a genetic predisposition, sorry, you just, maybe would need to do this and that, right? And I just didn't like that. It didn't sit well with me. And so I started researching stuff that would alleviate this problem, I found a guy named John Bergman, who I still send that out as a resource to, if I get DMs, people asking about graves or something. That's like the first place I send them, because it's such a complex thing. I don't want to, I'm not a doctor, although I might as well be. So just never want to take liability, I guess, or that for someone. But it really influenced the change for me to start, basically to start distrusting institutions. I had that inherent sort of like, I grew up with the internet, and I think that's really shaped my life and come to this too. So I was researching the stuff on the bodybuilding forums, right? I was Googling stuff constantly, always learning, like trying to be the best athlete I could. And I think that shift made me realize, like, oh man, like all these grains I'm eating like are probably bad for me. Well, how come in health class, like that's what you're taught, And so it just started distancing me from that. And so then moving on, I finished out my high school career, pretty good high school athlete. I end up playing FCS football, or going to play FCS football at Valparaiso University. Played my freshman year there. Was also studying like biomechanical engineering, which those two things do not go well together. Flying for games and studying biomechanical engineering, it's just like a grind. And I just like hated it. I wasn't sleeping at all, which not that I super sleep now. It's definitely like my weak spot, but also my blessing. And so I was just kind of unhappy with that grind I put myself in. I ended up transferring to a school called Denison in Ohio, smaller school, very good academic school. And just realized there too, like I kind of had a period where I woke up, like I was always kind of questioning things, like the Trump thing in 2016, I think started pushing that a little bit, and just realizing like, the modern zeitgeist probably isn't what it should be, right? And just like having a weird gut feeling about a lot of these things, whether that's politically or societally or you name it. And so I was going through some stuff there. I mean, I just hated class. It wasn't for me. I didn't like the format. It wasn't interesting to me. Looking back on it, I probably would have stuck with engineering if I could do something like an apprenticeship, right? Like that would have been interesting, I think. But so I'm there, and I just realized like I'm playing a game that I don't want to play. It's optimizing a small, status circle, and I had fun. I enjoyed college. Obviously, it's a blast being around young people like that, in that environment, partying, whatever. But I just realized that I didn't want to optimize the next 2 years of my life for something that would then just dissipate. And then it'd be like, you go big fish, small pond, and then what? You graduate, and then what? There's nothing there, right? And I just kind of realized that. I was a little banged up that sophomore year. I had some like injury stuff, health stuff. I was honestly kind of, in a state of depression, just with where school was at. I just wasn't happy. And I was smoking a lot of pot then. And I think it did help trigger a change in my consciousness, just expanded my mind a little bit, helped me think about the world. I kind of went crazy for a little while, to some extent, which is good, right? If you follow me, you know that I have a tendency to, like, I appreciate some schizo intuition, right? And so I'm going through this period. I start reclaiming everything that I'm consuming on the internet. I start, really thinking deeply about a lot of philosophical questions about the way the world works, and just kind of realized that it wasn't for me. And at that time too, I found, I don't even remember who the kid was, but one night I'm like kind of really it's like a couple weeks before finals, or I'm working on a finals paper for some bullshit refugee class or whatever, and I see this ad, and this kid's like, oh, I'm making 40 grand a month, He's like 17, and I'm like, dude, there's no way that this kid is smarter than me. And I just kind of was like, fuck it. I'm going to just burn my life down and go make it happen. Because if this kid's making money on the internet, I certainly could. I mean, at that point, I had always been, even not going to class, like I got good grades in college. I was a really good student, again, in high school, like without doing anything. And just like realized, like, damn, like if he can do that, I can do it too, I guess. That was a really fundamental thing. And so, hold on, let me put this on D&D. And so I decided to drop out of college that night. My parents are kind of upset about it, whatever. Kind of called their bluff. I ended up going home, working at the ski resort in my hometown over Christmas break, and then pack up my bags for Florida, right? So this is the transition point. And now I'll just give you a little bit of context as to what happened since then. So that's kind of like my childhood. We'll get into, how I got to where I am now and then where I'm going to go from here, right? So I drop out. I decide I'm going to move to Florida because at that point I was in Ohio and it was gray and rainy and cold and shitty for 6 months out of the year, and it just was depressing. So I was like, all right, I want to be around the sunshine. Where is there sunshine all the time? Florida. Boom. And then I moved to Clearwater because at that time I had really bad patellar tendonitis, and I found Knees Over Toes guy, Ben Patrick, on Instagram when he had maybe 3,000 followers or something like that. And I was like, cool, I want to train at his gym. So I moved there. I start working out at his gym as a member. I offered to help however I can just to learn, start training a high school football team, or helping him train a high school football team. And doing that, I do that for a few weeks. I work a couple other, I did a telemarketing job for about a month before I quit. I'm delivering Italian food, pizza, and eventually he hires me full time. I start working for Ben full time. And during that time, I'm just kind of hustling on the internet. I had been kind of lurking on Twitter, or money Twitter, as you might affectionately call it. I don't like to call it that personally, but most people do, so we'll roll with it. And so I'm just kind of learning on there, right? And figuring out different stuff. I closed my first couple clients. I wrote emails for a smoke shop in Clearwater. I had a couple Facebook ads clients that I had met through the gym. I was going door to door selling personal training stuff. I started a couple group classes that I ran, and those were actually pretty successful. Mind you, I'm 20 at this time. Going door to door, running a women's class, running a kids class in the gym, taking on personal training clients, just doing all that, and then just again continually had a couple Facebook ads clients that maybe paid me $500, right? But it was a huge win for a 20-year-old me, and writing emails, that kind of stuff, and just learning, right? Just continually learning, and so from there, it was just I just felt kind of capped. And I ended up sending a DM to a guy, Jared Getz, and he had was looking for someone, and I sent him a pitch. He liked it. Sent him an email, liked it. Ended up going down to meet him in South Florida. It goes really well. He offers me a job. I take it to just kind of be his executive assistant and work on a lot of e-com stuff. He'd done a lot of that really, really at a high level. So I go down there, work for him, end up kind of moving into more of a COO role, and taking a lot of sales calls, that kind of stuff. And during that time, COVID hits, right? And I am just sitting on all of the health information that I've garnered my entire life, basically. And I'm on Twitter, and I'm bored because I can only really work 5 hours a day before I'm just burnt out of talking with devs or certain different things, right? Maybe 6 hours, we'll say. But I get my work done, and then what am I going to do during the pandemic? I live alone. I'm 20 or 21 at that time, and the only thing for me to do was work out and go outside, go to the beach, walk, and tweet. So that's what I did, and just started sharing health information, again, just stuff that I really loved, and it started doing really well. I grew really fast on Twitter, just having a good time with the boys during the pandemic. That was a classic era. And so during that time, I'm just building out this audience, really just having fun. I think that's a super important thing to note is especially a lot of you probably maybe want to build an audience watching this. If you have pure intentions like that, it works so much better. Obviously now I sell products, right? Or services, whatever. But I think starting out that way is a really, really strong thing to do. And so I'm building this out, and it just hits a point where like I didn't really like what I was doing, my day to day, for a few different reasons. So I ended up leaving that job. And man, and this is maybe August 2020, I launched my first offer, the Limitless Playbook, which it was a great offer at the time, I think. Just like a cheap course, it was like $97 once it got out of the pre-sale period. And it just kind of opened my eyes, like, wow, like I can build something off of what I've done. And so I kept doing that. I moved up to Tallahassee for a couple months, rent a house, partnered up with one of my friends, Kevin K. Who I had met on the internet, actually. Funny enough, it sounds so weird, but it's actually not. We partnered up. We started a company called Body Optic, and that was, my new avenue for training. And that was my fitness company that we had for about 1.5 years, close to 2 years. And so I'm doing that, and I'm also selling for other offers on the internet. It's a great way to get going. Sold a lot of different stuff over the phone, man, between my own offers early before I was with Jared, and then with him, the offers I sold. And then after that, man, I've sold like everything under the sun at this point. So I did that for maybe 6 months while we were building Body Optic. Finally hit a point where I was like, okay, I'm going to commit to being an entrepreneur full time, like not doing anything for anyone else, like just building my companies. I think that was a huge shift. And that came, so I started Body Optic late 2020 or like fall 2020 in Tallahassee till the end of 2020. I go to Brazil for, I don't know, like 3-4 months, start of 2021, just to get a new experience. That was really, really cool, especially, kind of being an entrepreneur at that point and just like kind of taking ownership of this stuff in a foreign country. It's like, dude, you got to make it work, So I do that, and really when I come back from Brazil is when the shift happens and I really start taking entrepreneurship seriously. I moved back to Miami. I had been living in Boca for a while. Pre-Tallahassee, I moved to Miami, and that was kind of the shift, like, okay, I need to do this thing for real. Definitely had a lot of fun when I first moved here, spring 2021, and just really kind of did that for a few months. I took some risks, tried to start different companies too while I was here that I really never publicly talked about. They didn't really work out. One of them was like a brokerage kind of for different investment portfolios. And it just didn't work out, and that's fine. And just really then doubled down on Body Optic. And then that was kind of the start of 2022. And this year has really been it all kind of coming together. We're really going hard with Body Optic. I formed a partnership with my good friend Nick, who has been deep in the Instagram game, and I've kind of been deep in the Twitter game. And him and I partnered up and started a company called Launch Socials, just helping people scale through content, which has kind of been our bread and butter our entire career. Body Optic disbanded. We just went different ways. We're working on different stuff, not in the same city. It's just hard. It's really hard to not be in person with business partners. You can move so much faster. So we split that up. I relaunched my own fitness offer, Untapped Athlete. And that kind of brings me to where we are today, right here, right now, November 14th, 2022. I just turned 24 10 days ago, and really just wanted to give some context to who I am and what I'm doing and what this looks like moving forward. Like, what can you expect out of my YouTube channel, the Log Fitz YouTube channel? Really, I'm super excited because, I have spent the past 4 years kind of just dedicated to figuring out all of these different things. Like I said, I always wanted to be the best athlete, and, then I had these health problems. And then when I went to school, I just realized that serving someone else's, goalposts for my career just wasn't what I wanted. And so now we're at the point where, just really dedicating myself to these things, to, being the best content marketer on the planet, to building the best, health and fitness frameworks, really being the best marketer, salesman, entrepreneur, the best person, really setting the tone for, where I want the world to go, and how I feel like I can lead by example to make that happen. So we're going to be discussing all of those things. I'm going to be laying out, it'll either be like this format, or maybe I'll be screen sharing. Maybe we'll get some vlogs in there, show you what it's like, kind of day to day working on a couple companies for yourself on the internet at a young age in Miami, right? Just giving you guys a little bit of context. And hopefully just really letting this be something that can hopefully help you. It's fun for me. I feel like I have learned so much from kind of being able to teach or in public. You're forced to condense your thinking and become the best iteration of your thoughts and your ideas. And so I really enjoy that aspect of it. But I just want this to be a format where, I can create the best ideas, and YouTube is a little bit more long form. I can go a little bit more in depth, but let this be a format where I can share those ideas and, hopefully make a really, really big impact, because I just feel like the things that, I've kind of leveraged the internet to figure out, whether that's the health stuff, whether that is, understanding how you can leverage the internet to market and sell and build. I mean, those two things I just think are, such a denominator for people to really improve their lives and help build the world into what we want to build it into. Because if you're watching this, we probably share similar values. And yeah, I just think that if you can max out the leverage you have on your body, on your health, on how you feel, if you can create a skill set, if you can create knowledge, if you can create ideas that you can then, market, sell, build on the internet, you don't have to be beholden to these old societal frameworks that really tend to hold a lot of people back. And so, yeah, again, my name's Logan, Log Fitz, Log or Fitz. You can call me whatever you want. I don't really give a fuck. But just wanted to give you some context, kind of let you know what this channel is going to be about. And yeah, I'm super excited to, really start ripping a lot of these and just sharing ideas. So if you'd like to follow along, like, subscribe, maybe share it with a friend, and let's get it.